A witch hunt refers to a widespread and often irrational search for, persecution of, and punishment of individuals, typically women, believed to be witches or involved in witchcraft.
The witch hunt phenomenon prevailed in Europe from the 15th to the 18th century for a complex interplay of social, religious, political, and economic factors.
Religious tensions.
The period of witch hunts coincided with the rise of Protestantism and the Catholic Counter-Reformation, which led to intense religious conflicts and competition. Both Catholic and Protestant authorities sought to assert their dominance and stamp out heresy, which contributed to the fear of witches as agents of the devil working against the church. They would have been content to justify their action by naming them witches and sacrificing them. There must have been a lot of innocent victims.
Social upheaval.
It was a period of social upheaval in the Middle Ages when the serf system collapsed and people began to flock to the cities to do business. Europe experienced significant social changes during this period, including the growth of urban centers, the rise of a new middle class, and the erosion of traditional village structures. These changes fueled anxieties and suspicion, leading people to search for scapegoats to blame for their problems. Accusing someone of witchcraft offered an easy explanation for misfortunes or tensions within communities. There must have been a lot of innocent female victims who were sacrificed because they were framed as witches.
Gender dynamics.
The majority of those accused and executed for witchcraft were women, reflecting the deeply ingrained misogyny and patriarchal structures of the time. Women who deviated from traditional gender roles or who were perceived as threatening or independent were particularly vulnerable to accusations of witchcraft. In the Middle Ages, it was a patriarchal society and women's human rights did not exist at all. Husbands often used violence against their wives.
Economic factors.
Accusations of witchcraft were sometimes driven by economic motives, such as land disputes, competition for resources, or the desire to confiscate the property of the accused. Additionally, witch hunting itself became an industry, with some individuals making a living as witch-finders or inquisitors. To the extent that there was a job to find a witch, a job called a witch interrogator, it means that the witch hunt prevailed.
Mass hysteria and psychological factors. The fear of witches and their alleged powers created a climate of panic and suspicion, which could escalate into mass hysteria. This fear was often perpetuated by rumors, sensationalist literature, and public executions, which reinforced the belief in the threat posed by witches.
These factors converged to create a social environment where witch hunts could thrive, leading to the persecution and execution of tens of thousands of people across Europe. It was a gloomy period, where so many innocent women became victims of a witch hunt and had no choice but to die. According to the estimates of historians, tens of thousands of people were executed for witchcraft in Europe between the 15th and 18th centuries. The most common method of execution was burning at the stake.
The reasons for witch hunts varied from place to place. In Europe, witch hunts were often motivated by religious fear and superstition. In other parts of the world, witch hunts were often motivated by political or economic factors. Women in European society during the time of rampant witch hunts felt a great deal of fear and anxiety. They were aware that they could be accused of witchcraft at any time for any reason. The accusations could be made by anyone, and they could be based on nothing more than superstition or suspicion. The witch hunts were a time of great uncertainty and instability for women. They were afraid to speak out or to stand up for themselves, lest they be accused of witchcraft. They were also afraid to be alone, lest they be attacked by a witch. Witch hunts had a profound impact on women's lives. They limited their freedom of movement and expression. They made it difficult for them to participate in society. And they made them feel like they were constantly under threat. The witch hunts were a dark time in European history, and they had a lasting impact on women's rights and empowerment. They are a reminder of the dangers of superstition and ignorance, and the importance of fighting for equality and justice. Here are some specific examples of how women in European society felt during the time of rampant witch hunts. Fear. Women were afraid to be alone, afraid to speak out, and afraid to be accused of witchcraft. Anxiety. Women were constantly worried about being accused of witchcraft, and they lived in fear of the consequences. Powerlessness. Women felt powerless to stop the witch hunts, and they felt like they had no control over their own lives. Isolation. Women were isolated from their communities, and they were afraid to trust anyone. Hopelessness. Women felt hopeless about the future, and they didn't know how to stop the witch hunts. The witch hunts were a dark time in European history, but they also led to important changes.
The Enlightenment, which began in the 17th century, challenged the superstitions that had led to the witch hunts. The Enlightenment also led to the development of science and medicine, which helped to dispel the myths about witchcraft.
Today, witch hunts are no longer common in Europe. However, there are still some people who believe in witchcraft and who practice it. It is important to remember the victims of witch hunts and to work to prevent such tragedies from happening again. Thank you for watching the video, The Witch Hunt, provided by History and Current Events. Gina, Bella, Cindy, Helena, and Tony have contributed so far as narrators. Thank you.